Hello, I'm Roger Dawson, an auctioneer with the Harcourts Group in Christchurch. Thank you for taking the time to view this video today. You're doing so because you're obviously interested in why you should consider taking your property to auction. I want to spend a few minutes and just give you some facts and figures that might help you with that decision and help you along the way to a very successful sale. Now, I bring this information to you based on over 30 years in the real estate industry and more than 25 years as an auctioneer. As I record this, I've conducted in excess of 7,500 auctions, and we've had very, very good success, particularly in latter times as auction has become a far more accepted medium. I want to spend a few minutes and talk you through the difference between taking your property to auction and price, and also give you a number of very good reasons why auctions work successfully. As a background, I can tell you that auctions work really, really well, not only in good markets, but also in more challenging times. And I've been through 3 or 4 various roller coasters over the last 30 years where it's been really hard to sell property, but also been through some very buoyant times, as we've recently experienced, where again, it's been a very easy task to sell property. The challenge then is how well do we sell your property for you. I want to talk now just on a couple of matters, firstly as regards auction. You'll see a graphic coming up on the screen now which very simply explains how auctions work. And the main reason they work is that they put a barrier in front of buyers. They have to make a decision, and that's called a date. What happens is we have a lead-up period of between 3 and 4 weeks when the property is marketed, and all the clauses that would often be put in a contract do not eventuate. Everything must be done in advance of auction day so that come auction day, the buyers are bidding, and they're bidding cash. They've satisfied their finance requirements, they've possibly had a valuation done, they've been to the insurance, they've had a valuation, they've talked to whoever needs to give them advice so that on the day with a clear mind they are bidding to buy your property. Now the key thing with that is if the hammer comes down, and in a very large percentage of cases it does, if the hammer comes down in your favour, the property is totally and unconditionally sold. The buyers are not able to talk to you a few days later and say, look, that clause we're not satisfied with. It doesn't happen in that way at all. Now, if we look at the pricing model, the exact opposite applies. The buyers will bring you an offer. The period of time could be undefined when the property is on the market, and very often is. You'll see the big question mark. And that could take a day, a week, a month, 3 or 6. Nobody knows. And so there is not nearly as much pressure on a buyer having to make a decision than when there is with the time and a date that auction provides. And then when the offer even comes in, the buyers still can use those clauses to perhaps change their mind in the ensuing 5 to 10 days. So my advice to you very clearly is look at the solidity that a final date gives you versus the great question mark that the pricing model applies. Now the next thing that comes along as well is there's often that feeling, did we undersell? Many properties sell on the market within a few days or a week or two, and I can absolutely categorically state I believe that many owners undersell their property because they don't fully test the market. They give the buyers the opportunity to come in within a day or two and put their offer in, and while they might be quite simple clauses, quite often you can be left afterwards thinking, wow, that was quick. Could we have got more? Well, the short answer is we'll never know because you didn't fully test the market. Those are the things that I want to just draw to your attention very clearly. We are looking with the auctions to create multiple bidders, to create emotion, and we want to ultimately through competition look for that hidden 10%. So often properties that go to the market at a price will sell for a lesser figure than a property that goes to auction. And the reason is we've had emotion here with auction. There's been absolutely none when it comes to the decision on a priced property. And finally, the day you put a price on your property, you have put a ceiling on the price. Very few properties, I will grant some do, but very few properties will ever sell for more than the asking price. The natural progression is for the buyer to come in with a lower offer, and you will gradually, in negotiations, reduce your price. When it comes to open competition, that's how we will often set new benchmarks, and I'm absolutely convinced that we set new benchmarks all the time with auction. Perhaps my final comment I'd have to say, and you're probably detecting this anyway, is that I'm a little bit biased about how auctions work, but it's based on over 7,500 seeing the results week in, week out, month and year after year. Folks, as I say, I'm a little bit biased, but I hope that that's a little bit of a reasonable explanation as to why auctions and pricing models work so differently. Okay, I want to just spend a few moments and discuss the relative success rate of auction versus priced property. We've got a graphic coming up on the screen now that shows a typical year in the auction market in Christchurch. Now, each of the real estate companies, the Harcourts Group that you're looking with or talking with, will be able to show their own respective figures. But these figures broadly apply right across the whole Harcourts Group. And what I can tell you is that year in, year out, good markets or bad, priced properties will sell at about 1 in 3 to 4 of auction properties. In other words, your success rate with auction is likely to be 3 to 4 times that of a priced property in the first 6 weeks on the market. The reasons for that? The point I touched on before. That deadline that forces a buyer to make a decision. Now, from your point of view, if I said to you today, sitting in front of you, talking about getting sold, if I said to you, where would you like to be in 6 weeks' time? In the 25% approximately, or the 70 to 90% success rate? Most people would say, I don't want to be on the market any longer than necessary. Do I want to be only 25% likely to be sold in 6 weeks' time? Probably not. Now, auction doesn't work for every single person, but in the vast majority of cases, it will deliver you a success rate in the 75 to 90% range versus 15 to 25% if you go to the market at a price. Now, in my view, biased as I am, that's a pretty compelling statistic and one of the very strong reasons why I'd say to you, seriously consider auction as your preferred method of sale. I want to talk now about tenders and deadline sales. Again, they have, like everything else, their place in the marketplace. But people often say, oh, well, look, we'll go to tender because we don't want the emotion of an auction. But as I touched on in the earlier part of this video, emotion is what finds that extra for buyers through competition and fear of loss when they can see that a property might be about to go out of their grasp. The key thing with tenders and deadlines are that everything's done secretly. Tenders and deadlines are written up and sealed in an envelope. A buyer will have no idea what another buyer might be prepared to pay. So when it comes to finding whether they could have or would have paid more, many times a tender will be accepted and the person who misses out or persons who miss out say, look, if I just knew what I had to pay, I probably would have paid some more money. Now that's where the transparency of the auction room works. It puts people openly against each other. They can see in the heat of the moment that that man's going to take my property. By golly, no, he's not. Here's my next bid. And instantly on the spot, the buyer can make a decision to increase. That's what leads to premiums. That's what leads to higher prices and new benchmarks being set. I want to just point out that many times tenders, in fact, their favourite use is by government departments, civil authorities, local authorities, and tenders are used to find the lowest price. They put the tender out for a road reconstruction, a bridge reconstruction, a building reconstruction, and those local authorities use it to find the lowest price, not the highest price. Open competition, not a sealed secret envelope, is what will get you the maximum money on auction day. I also want to talk about whether we should conduct an auction in rooms or on site. Now, both have their place, but I'm a firm believer these days in conducting an auction in rooms. Firstly, they're a very professional environment. Most Harcourts auction rooms around New Zealand have very, very good facilities, including an open area for the auction to be conducted. Rooms that if negotiation needs to take place, they can be buyers and sellers can be taken to. They also have the very best of technology. Many of the rooms broadcast on the internet, and they allow people to look in from around the world. The next thing I want to point out also is that security is never compromised. Having an on-site auction, as I say, has its place. It tends to have drifted away and become far less popular over recent times. One of the key reasons is security. If you have an on-site auction, you've got to make sure that everything's locked up, put away and out of sight, because sadly in the past some people have unscrupulously helped themselves to items, precious items that an owner would own. Also, the next big one, and sadly in New Zealand, weather is often against us. I lost count in the early years of how many auctions I conducted standing under a veranda, under an umbrella, never ever knowing whether the rain was going to be horizontal, whether the wind was blowing. So from all those points of view, the best of technology, private negotiating facilities, security and weather protection, my advocacy every time would be conduct it in a professional auction rooms. We're there to do business with your property. We'd like to treat it as professionally as we could. In finishing up my discussion with you on why I believe you should seriously consider auction, let me take you through 21 very good reasons that I've discovered over the years that I believe make very compelling reasons to consider auction. Number one, control. With auction, you control the process rather than the buyers, because you set your terms as opposed to the buyers bringing their conditions to the table. Number two, you eliminate finance problems. The contract on auction day is a cash, unconditional sale. Number three, auction is open to everyone. Anyone can bid at an auction regardless of whether they have property to sell or not. That does not enter into an auction sale. Number four, confidentiality. Your price expectation is never revealed until the bidding has finished. Number five, with auction there is no cooling off period. The sale on the fall of the hammer is complete. Number six, it's a faster sale. My earlier graphs have showed you that the chances of sale are 3 to 4 times more likely in that first 6 weeks on the market. Number seven, urgency is created because the time frame ensures that buyers must act, as I previously explained. Number eight, that leads us to the deadline, which auction date brings the negotiations to a finality on the day. Number nine, there is certainty created because you can then plan your future with much more confidence, knowing there's a 3 to 4 times more likely success rate. Number 10, the competition. Buyers compete amongst themselves rather than attack your price and try and beat you down. Number 11, aside agreements. These are documents that you sign off before auction date, permitting buyers to have terms to suit themselves, which you are in agreement with. Number 12, your reserve price, of course. This protects your investment. It's never revealed until the moment of the fall of the hammer or completion of an individual negotiation. Number 13, The exposure that is created through your marketing campaign with auction allows you to give the property the widest possible exposure in the shortest time frame. Number 14, there's no procrastination. Qualified buyers take part in the auction process. You're not left hanging for days while negotiations are completed. Number 15, it maximises the price. For all the reasons I've explained previously, competition amongst buyers will promote the best possible price for you to consider. Number 16, a skilled auctioneer. Many times people have said to me, you are the very best negotiator on the day on our behalf. And that's what you pay for in your auction as well, a skilled negotiator. Number 17, negotiations. In a normal pricing process, negotiations go down because buyers attack your price and try to buy it for less. With an auction, clearly, the only way the price goes is upwards as momentum through the bids gathers pace. Number 18, the professional rooms in which we conduct our auctions. A business-like surrounding, weather, security, none of those issues ever raise their heads in a professional auction room. Number 19, the settlement date to suit yourself. You can arrange a 30, 60, 90, 120 day settlement terms exactly as you wish. That is a settlement that suits you on the day. Number 20, the buyers pay the 10% deposit on the fall of the hammer. They've already partly completed the transaction. And finally, number 21, the peace of mind that you will feel when you walk out the door with a sold sign on your gate, ready to move on with the rest of your life. Thanks for considering these 21 very good reasons that you should look at auction.